Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the streets of sunny Southern California. And today is Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, WiFiDangers.com, 5GDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, YGigDangers.com, 60GHzDangers.com. Folks, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to sound the alarm. All right? You know, it's hard to really imagine how, for so long, how so many people still cannot see what is happening. And how the sin of the people that I know is their love of money. It absolutely blows my mind how late we are in the game of Monopoly. And they still think that mom's not going to fold up the board and make you go to bed, right? Do you remember when you were a child and you played Monopoly with your brothers or your sister? I mean, we used to play Monopoly when we were young, and I'd play it with my brothers and my sister. And, you know, my mother would, okay, kids, excuse me, okay, children. I got to stop saying that word K-I-D-S, because we're not baby goats to be sacrificed by these Kabbalistic blood-drinking freaks. We're human beings created in the image of God, redeemed by the sinless shed blood of Jesus Christ. We are created in God's image, and we are put here to fulfill God's purpose. But back to the Monopoly game. So, folks, you know, when we were younger, we played Monopoly, and sometimes a game would go for hours. I'm not kidding. And it's all really just the roll of the dice. You know, there's a little bit of skill involved, but, you know, a lot of it's just the luck of the dice, right? Because that's what the game is. It's a dice game, okay? But, by and large, Monopoly is based on paper assets and paper money. And paper money that's been basically doled out by the bank. And when it came time to go to bed, my mother would say, okay, boys and girls, it's time to put that away. And sometimes I remember when I was winning, I didn't want to stop, right? I wanted to keep going because I wanted to, you know, win all the way, right? But the thing is no matter how far along you were in the game, whether you were winning or losing, when my mother said it's over, she came and folded up the board, and all the hotels and the houses and the pieces and the piles of the Monopoly money all got put away, all got taken away, and the game was over. Now, folks, do you really think that there is anything different going on today with our current economic situation, with our current socioeconomic situation, with our current geopolitical socioeconomic situation? Well, can I explain something to you? The monetary system is monopoly money, folks, and it only has value because they allow it to have value. And if they want to delink the dollar from the oil trades, if they want to inflate the money supply and create hyperinflation, or if they want to restrict the money supply and create a depression, or if they just flat out want to fold up the board and call the game off, they can. And believe me, folks, they will. That's part of their plan. You see, all of you out there that trust in your riches, all of you out there that trust in your money, all of you out there who can't seem to get your mind off of the Wall Street Journal and you know, your brokerage accounts and, you know, your savings account. Do you know what? When they send you back to your room with a drone outside and make you wear a mask when you're sleeping, It doesn't matter how many zeros you have on a piece of paper that they just put in their electronic shredder, because it won't matter. When you become a prisoner, everything that you think you own, you don't. There are very, very few opportunities left for you to prepare for what's coming, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're one of those people that think things are going to continue, if you're still trying to be cheap and you know, save all this money because you think you retire and, you know, travel the world and do all these fun things that you think your Monopoly money is going to give you the ability to do, I can tell you right now, all the Monopoly money in the world is not going to matter pretty soon. Look what they're doing. When this whole psychological warfare operation got rolled out 2 years ago, I called it for what it was, and I laid out everything that was going to happen, and it happened. It's all happening, folks. I want to urge all of you out there to begin making preparations for supply chain disruptions that could have very long-lasting effects and very severe implications. The full grocery store shelves are not going to be a constant thing of the future. If you have the ability to do so, you should have at least 6 months food and various supplies on hand at a minimum. Okay? Now, you know, I'll tell you, some of you, you just can't get yourselves to spend the money, right? You know, it's frightening to how at some point your money's going to matter when you're in breadline. Okay? You do not want to be at the mercy of those that are going to use these engineered supply chain disruptions to coerce you into going along with their plan, right? You do not want to be a victim of the agenda. A prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. A man that does not make preparations for his family is worse than an infidel. I could go on and on, but I won't. The United States of America is a very unique country in that it was formed as a constitutional republic, and although it was formed by, well, Masonic Kabbalists, some were deists, some were atheists, some claimed to be Christian. I know George Washington would never take communion. He held a slave. He was a Mason. And, you know, these obelisks and phallic symbols find their way all over the important places. DC's all laid out Masonically. The United States has been given a very special set of rights, if you will. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law with the establishment of any religion, and the right to a free press. And the Second Amendment is the Enforcer Amendment, is the Enforcement Amendment, the right to bear arms, a well-regulated militia for the security of a free state. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. And I might as well talk about this, because a lot of people seem to think that it's supposed to be a National Guard. Look, the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia. Let me tell you something about regulation, folks. When something is to be regulated, it is to be controlled and funded and furnished and organized. You see, one of the problems the government has is it funds and organizes chaos and not order. That's why it funds welfare for people that don't have a spouse and have children, and that's why you can't get welfare if you're married, and that's why they encourage you to stay single and have children out of wedlock. And that's why the government encourages these women to yell and scream at the top of their lungs about how it's my body, my choice if I want to kill my baby, but they are silent when it comes to being forcibly injected, right? The United States government should be providing a financial incentive to every able-bodied man and woman to own firearms as part of a well-regulated militia. Regulations aren't just uniform commercial codes that are illegal with an admiralty law flag with the yellow golden tassel around it in all the courtrooms. The government should be in the business of serving us and making sure that we remain free from invasions, right? Well, the United States, by and large, in spite of all the government's worst intentions, because it's being run from the deep state, deep in the heart of the Mediterranean, we are being subverted and perverted and corrupted and set up for destruction by the deniers of Jesus Christ. And they have a big problem on their hands, folks, because they've been trying to get us to kill each other for decades with all these satanic movies and all this satanic music and all these medications and pills and filthy movies and magazines, and just getting us to hate each other, and all this tribal class warfare crap they're teaching in the schools and in the movies and the political spectrum that they force on us through the media. I mean, it's like they've got a beer bong and they're pouring all this filth down our throat, and they got our hands tied behind our back, and they got somebody opening our mouth with the jaws of life, right? Just dumping this crap into us. But there are hundreds of millions of guns in the United States, folks, and they can't take them away. And they're not going to try to have the police move on us, because that won't work out very well. By and large, the American people are a standing army at this point. So the goal of the controllers, who think they have an upper hand when in reality they're nothing more than a paper tiger if people would wake up, their goal is going to be to our knees by a form of torture called death by 1,000 cuts. Okay? Food supply interruptions, power supply interruptions, fuel supply interruptions, information network supply interruptions. They're getting us ready to suffer a death by 1,000 cuts. They can't just roll foreign troops in the United States, folks, because they'll have so many casualties on their hands that they won't know what to do, okay? There are hundreds of millions of guns in the United States, okay? So their plan is not to go to war with us. Their plan is to Bolshevik us through clandestine means. And yet, very simple and tried and tested Henry Kissinger style means, right? Specifically a food control genocide, if you will, a form of coercion that is tried and tested throughout millennia. And it's one of Kissinger's favorites. Honestly, I don't know how that blob, that goblin is still alive, but Satan has his plans for his minions, and their reward is short on this earth, and their punishment awaits. They will try to bring the American people to their knees with planned implosions of infrastructure. And it could be anything from their fake solar flare that's going to knock the internet down, or their fake coronal mass ejaculation, as they like to fantasize about, where they take down the power grids. Folks, it's going to be a controlled burn to bring people to their knees, okay? And so right now, while the shelves are full and the monopoly money is still legal tender, go out and stock up on everything you can. While you can. Get all you can. Because quite frankly, folks, I was in a dollar store this morning, and it's packed to the hilt with everything. You could go in there and spend a couple $100 and set yourself up You want canned meat, number one. Canned meat. Try to avoid meat that's loaded with nitrites and sodium erythrobate. You want to get meat that isn't loaded with preservatives that give you cancer and make it undigestible. But you will need canned meat. You're going to need protein. You're going to need beans. You're going to need iron. You want to stock up on things like blackstrap molasses, good pink Himalayan salt, good oils. A very good product to have is ghee, which is a pasteurized, shelf-stable form of butter, right? You need oil, you need salt, you need ammunition, you need batteries, you need water filtration systems. Buy an ozone generator to purify your water if there's some sort of a problem with the water system. You need to bubble something through your water to kill parasites and bacteria if the water system gets spiked. You need to have alternative sources of energy. You can buy a generator for a couple $100. You can go and get cans of gasoline and store them somewhere and put some stable in it and leave it there. And you can have things that can keep your food up and running, like a refrigerator and a small generator. You only have to power it a couple hours during the day to keep the thing cold, keep your food going. Have some propane tanks, have some big ones or small ones. Have a gas barbecue, have a charcoal barbecue, have plenty of firewood. If you're in an apartment, very simply, just have a bunch of canned stuff and stuff that's ready to cook with a small little propane stove, or just open the window and use a little propane stove. Go to the camping store and spend $50 on a small little camping stove, and go to Walmart and spend about $75 to $80 on candles, or little propane canisters, or little alcohol stoves. Whatever. Folks, come on! We're running out of time, because right now the supply chain is about to lock up. And when they do things, you got to understand, folks, psych warfare involves sudden, abrupt changes. It is not a gradual, very smooth, slow boil. These operations that are underway are going to take place in waves of abrupt interruptions, okay? They're going to be sudden and drastic, okay? Just like the first time we were faced with everything being shut down, there will be sudden and drastic actions. I guess the best way to explain to you and to put it into terms that you can understand is, if any of you have ever been a parent and watched your wife, or if you're a woman or a mother and you went to labor, it's going to be like labor pains, folks. First, the contractions start out not too bad, they're kind of spaced out, and they get closer together and more painful, more extreme, and then pretty soon they're very, very close together and unbearable. And then comes the delivery of the goods, right? Well, in their case, the delivery of their goods is the New World Order being established, a complete Bolshevik, top-down, command and control, tyrannical genocide that is going to be run on multiple fronts, utilizing multiple binary weapon systems, like food and water, like currency and commerce, like vaccines and wireless, like medications, and moronic, tyrannical, despotic, petrochemical, pill-pushing pimps in a pharmaceutical white coat that serve the sorcery agenda. Now, the most important thing you could do, of everything I said, over and above everything I said, is once you've made your physical preparations, your spiritual preparations must come first before all of that. Because quite frankly, you'll never have the wisdom to see the necessity and the imminence of the threat we face, and the necessity to establish a plan to take action to protect and react. You must understand that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus Christ is not found in any church. Jesus was kicked out of the churches a long time ago. Jesus to this day is not talked about in the truest sense in any of these churches. You know, I had a conversation with my son last night, and really bright young man, quite a formidable individual to tackle, both physically and intellectually. But he's right. The churches have become nothing more than gigantic, real estate empires. It's almost like he's been reading my websites. But you know, he knows it's all about the money. They don't tell the truth. There is no real fellowship anymore. They don't teach the true word of God in there. It's all controlled by the deniers of Jesus Christ to put the sleeping gas to the Christians so they can get their throats slit when the guys finally show up with the knives on the jugulars. And that is the truth, folks. We are being set up, put to sleep by these churches who are telling us that there's going to be this disappearing magic carpet ride. If you don't understand what the Schofield Reference Bible is and who wrote it and where it came from and what a bunch of nonsense all this prophecy stuff is, it is being used. It was written by the same people. It was written by, the inspired notes were written by the deniers of Jesus Christ, folks, who are using this as a playbook to carry out their agenda to establish their new world order. All right? I'm just telling you right now, these churches are all in on it. If there are any churches out there, stop giving your money to these crooks and start for what's coming. We are facing a situation that humanity has not faced for almost 100 years, folks. We are heading into a Bolshevik-type revolution all over the world, and it is being orchestrated under the guise of medical tyranny. This is 1918 all over again. You need to understand, except this time, folks, this time they have much more at their disposal in terms of control and weaponry. They have advanced technologies, but they only work if you bring them into your house. They'll only be able to take you down if you give them access to your bloodstream. They'll only be able to starve you to death if you're not prepared. 100 years ago, most people lived off the land, and they were in a different type of position to withstand an economic contraction, restriction, or even a complete collapse. Today, the opposite is true. Most people are very soft and very addicted to their accoutrements and live in a push-button society where everything, well, if I want this, I have to just push this button and it'll get delivered. You know, it's amazing. I've grown food my entire life, and I can tell you how labor-intensive it is just to produce a tomato, okay? I mean, from seed to harvest, 3 to 4 months, and that's assuming the rats, the squirrels, and the weather cooperate, okay? Any one of those variables can screw the whole thing up, and you get nothing, okay? So you need to understand, folks, that what's happening has been planned for a long time. There are ways to prepare and to protect yourself and to get ready for this imminent threat that is upon us. And it is an imminent threat. The most powerful name under heaven is Jesus Christ. That is the one name that Satan has to bow to, folks. Okay? You need to understand that his name is above all names, and as a result, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution still stands. It is backed up by the Second Amendment, but most importantly, it is backed up by the preeminence and the omnipotence and the omniscience and the wisdom and the courage that is derived and found in a relationship and an indwelling of Jesus Christ and his Holy Spirit. If you want to be filled up with a beer bong of Hollywood filth and perversion and garbage, then be my guest. If you want to go along with everything you're being told, be my guest. You want to go along with these crooks in the churches that are telling you everything's going to be okay and that, we're going to get taken out of here, that God never lets anything bad happen to people. Folks, Think about this for just a second. Think about this for just a second, folks. You need to understand that by and large, the churches are criminals, okay? They're run by criminals. They're criminal operations. They're money laundering operations. They're stealing money from nice people, and they're doing more damage than good. The bottom line is Jesus Christ was a revolutionary, folks. He was a revolutionary. He was not some guy that walked around with a halo around his head with his hands folded all the time. And when he meant business, folks. We need to mean business. We need to say no. You need to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. The United States has always been a very, very difficult country to control because its vast geography, its vast resources, and it's really its mixture of an amalgamation of all people from all walks of life, from all over the world, cultures, mindsets, rugged individualism, the pioneer spirit, the self-reliance and determination. All those things led this country to become one of the most difficult countries to overthrow and to destroy in human history. We have been destroyed from within by the deniers of Jesus Christ who operate from the deep state that's located deep in the heart of the Mediterranean. And if they can't get our guns, they're going to get our guts. Do you understand me, folks? They want to get us in the bowels, and they want to get us in the bloodstream, and they want to get us from weaponry that we can't see, taste, or smell from the towers. My advice to all of you is to not bring any of this weaponized technology into your homes. And if you're going to be in your homes, you better make sure you find ways to hardwire all the stuff in your house. Find ways to make sure that you have proper levels of iron, because all this microwave exposure will make you anemic, which will set the stage for potentially the coming release of malaria. You know, Bill Gates' favorite bug is a mosquito, by the way. And, you know, malaria is one of the reasons that he's so interested in mosquitoes. And it's funny how they're always talking about, what is this medication that supposedly Mr. Trump took? It was an anti-malaria drug that eats up your red blood cells, right? Folks, the whole thing is rotten to the core, okay? And you need to understand something, okay? That if you have the wisdom and the foresight, you're not going to fall into the trap. We need to walk them into their own trap, folks, okay? These guys have plans for those that are not awake. That's why they want all of us to be sitting ducks and to be victims, okay? All right, I'm not going to sit here and go into much more than this. I think we've gone a long time. Look, folks, if you think this rapture is real, then, you know, go talk to the people in North Korea and in Cuba and in China and in Russia when they, you know, listen. All right, this whole premillennial dispensational eschatology is a playbook that has been written by the geopolitical hijackers that want to turn this world into hell on earth for everyone but themselves. Okay, they want a world of their own. Okay, and that is why they've hijacked the churches, and that's why they've cranked out this this Schofield Reference Bible. You got to understand, the guy that wrote the Schofield Reference, Schofield was a guy that he walked out on his family and hitched his wagon to some Wall Street attorney that helped write the Federal Reserve Act. I mean, think about this, folks. The guy that was instrumental in making the Schofield Reference Bible was a guy that helped write the Federal Reserve Act. So, you know, the death knell to the Christian church and the biblical interpretation was also delivered by the same guy that gave the death knell to the U.S. economy by allowing the issuance of currency to come out of the hands of Congress and into the hands of the deniers of Jesus Christ, who print money out of thin air and use it to confiscate resources, assets, minerals, forests, fisheries, buildings, labor, real estate, every tangible commodity imaginable. including intellectual property. All these things have been stolen from us by the fiat currency system, where they literally take reams of special paper that cost maybe 20 bucks, and they could make $1 billion out of it. And now they don't even print the stuff. They just issue zeros and ones and tens and nines and eights and sevens and sixes and fives and fours and threes and twos and ones. In computers, they could just push a couple buttons on a screen, and you know, they could have a crew put together, and they could build the World Trade Center, because all they got to use is that fake monopoly money that they print out of thin air or invent in a computer screen, and that buys steel and lumber and labor and acetylene and torches and cranes and everything else to put buildings together. Folks, yes, America has been used to destroy Christianity in Europe. Unfortunately, we've been used like a dirty rag, folks. And judgment's coming. I have to tell you that if you don't want to heed this warning, that you are a fool. Okay? All right. So that's enough for now, folks. I think we've gone 32 minutes. That's enough. Listen, folks. Pay heed to this. Download this video and get the... Folks, come on, please. Just please. Open your eyes. Everything on television now is just a bunch of crap, a bunch of lies, a bunch of filth, everything's about aliens and infections and lockdowns and people wife swapping and having sex with animals and vampires. You know, this is sick, folks. And I got one word for all these pastors out there, and I'll tell you what it is. It's very simple. I will not be seeing you in hell, but you will be seeing each other in hell, folks. Because anybody that's out there right now that has a congregation, anyone out there that has a church right now, anyone out there that's not telling the truth about what we face, I got news for you. You will receive the greater damnation, all right? And it's coming to you. Lock, stock, and barrel, by the one who put the 75,000 miles of circulatory system in your body. You are crazy to be sitting here remaining silent. All right? All right, tell your pastor you want all your money back. Tell your priest you want all your money back. Tell your Maharashi you want all your money back. You know, whoever's been ripping you off and putting you to sleep and lying to you, you need to go in there with your hands out and say, gimme, gimme, gimme. Give me it all back, because you sold us all out. And now, they've sold out even the children, folks. I'm not going to go into that right now. Folks, take care. In Jesus' name, may you have a blessed day. Joe Imbriano, signing out.